something that was on my mind today because there's loads of information online, as you probably have seen, about the Beckhams. I'm not like a fan of celebrities. Like, I'm not someone that follows all the celebrity stories. But when you see something that is constantly being talked about, whether that's on MSN, whether it's on TV. There was a few programs this week about it on Facebook. I just thought I'd just jump on and give my little opinion. And anyone that joins on this live stream, as I said, it's going to be really short. Okay, it's not going to be a long live stream. And just to let people know, I know that lots of people have been subscribing to this channel. This channel isn't about these sorts of talks and this sort of thing. It is going to be this year, and it has always been, about me doing different activities. But finances are just, I'm in catch-up mode at the minute. At some point, I've got things planned for this month, I've got things planned for next month, and every month of the year. So there will be more active videos looking at things that I'm doing. I've got plans to do a floating spa. I've got plans to do short trips, possibly even a holiday this year. So just thank you to all my subscribers. Hang on in there. So obviously, so this is what's happened. So you've got Victoria Beckham, and she has her and David Beckham. They've got their 4 children. So the eldest is Brooklyn Beckham. And I just love the fact that obviously they got engaged, then they had their first child, and then they named him Brooklyn, which is just, they're a British couple, no connection with Brooklyn Bridge or Brooklyn, the area, but it's just them, isn't it? That already made news because they've just named their child some, a random name of a city. And then they had, they followed with Cruz, you've got Romeo, and then you've got Harper. So they've got their 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. When we're looking from the outside in, which is the same with any celebrities really, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. All we see is brands. All we see is them posing on social media, smiles. We see the best parts. And that's the same, I'd say, with any celebrities. Every celebrity wants to show you the best of their lives. They don't want to show you when they're wearing a terrible outfit, when they look bad, when they are feeling bad, when they're having a bad day, when their children are just not doing what they should be doing. It always has to be choreographed and to look good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because what celebrity wants things to look as though they're just normal people. They want to, keep this brand going. They want people to think they're superheroes. So so the whole thing, everything was going well. If you look through lots of pictures, you'll see that there's always the family smiling. Victoria doesn't really smile, but they seem happy. There hasn't been there's been a few scandals. So obviously with Rebecca Lou's situation, and David Beckham, but they skated through that. Then there was a few, people questioning whether their marriage is real. They've skated through that. They did the next Netflix documentary. Everyone fell in love with them again. Then David got his knighthood. That also was a positive. What else? He's still in lots of adverts. I mean, I respect the fact that David Beckham is still getting those advertising campaigns. No one will forget the Calvin Klein advert. No, I won't forget it. No one will forget. He's got, sunglasses. He's got advertisements with that. Gin products, all sorts of things. He is still bankable, valuable. And then you got Victoria Beckham, who, I'm not going to lie, I'm not saying that I always was a fan of hers. When she was in the Spice Girls, to me, she was like just one of the Spice Girls. Mel B was my favourite Spice Girl. She wasn't someone, banana for life. So we're talking about the Beckham scandal, or the Beckham feud. Anyway, so yeah, as I've said, she's always been popular to a certain degree. Years ago, I bought one of her dresses. Now, this is a true story. Now, I could not afford her dresses. They're like small Alec, I think. Her dresses are like £700 to £1,000. I bought her dresses, you're talking maybe 15 years ago, when she first started as a designer. And I think I paid like £100. It was for a conference. And that is the best fitting dress I've ever worn in my life. The material, the fit, everything, it was beautiful. Anyway, back to the story. So they're the brand, aren't they? The Beckhams, when you think of the Beckhams, you just see them all. Now it's fashion for her. For him, he's always going to be known as one of the best, footballers. The issues come up because, obviously, Brooklyn Beckham got married to someone. And in the first pictures that you start seeing with Nicola, so she's a billionaire, the daughter of a billionaire, and there's all these stories about how she gets 1 million a month in not expenses, in allowance. You've put you don't care. Okay, Isaac, if you don't care, you don't have to care. You're on my live stream. This is just something, I'm not saying that I'm like into celebrities and things, but this is something people are talking about. I don't get, everyone doesn't have to care about everything, but if you're on a live stream talking about the Beckhams, you know, if you don't care about it, you don't have to watch the live stream. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So when Brooklyn decided to marry Nicola, I suppose it was his, thanks, Isaac. Yeah, I know you don't care about the topic. You're not saying you don't care about me talking about it, but still, it's a popular right now. So anyway, I think at that point, my feeling is, because now that I'm looking at some of the pictures of them as a family, and this is what I'd ask everyone to do, go back and study some of the pictures with Brooklyn in it. When he's next to his mum, her body language is either turning away from him. When he's next to his dad's, the body language is that they're very tight, like they're turning inwards. But with Victoria Beckham, because she's so, I don't know if it's just because she's always focused on what pose she's doing and she's always looking in the camera and this sort of thing, but you can see that there's a disconnect. You can see that there's a disconnect between them. So I've noticed it a few times in some of the pictures. They're never like, he's always looking unsure when he's next to his mum, but it might just be me, like reading into things. Anyway, I think that he used that opportunity because he found someone that he loved and he cared about. It's in a different country, and it was his chance to get away and to build his own family, you know. And I'm going to talk about like family dynamics in another video. Well, I'll talk about that probably on my other channel, which is a counselling channel. Anyway, no one knew why Victoria didn't take to Nicola, but she just didn't. So at that point, you're already in a situation where the son has to make a decision from that point. Do I side with my mum, or do I, side with my wife? He chose his wife. So I think from that point, to me, I don't know Victoria Beckham personally, none of us do, but I'm just assuming, and I'm just, what's the word called? I am just, not conjecture. What is the word? I can't think of it. And you're making an analysis, but it's not based on facts. You're just giving an opinion, but it's more than that. I can't remember the word. Anyway, I think that because Victoria Beckham, because the brand is so like guarded, and because their brand is like, it's $1 billion brand, if you put the Beckhams next to something, then it's going to sell. I think that when Brooklyn kind of cut away from that and he chose like his wife, that was like a crack in the armour or a chink in the armour. So someone's put educate. Yeah, that's it. An educated guess. Or that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, the word I was looking for. So anyway, I think that's when things started to go wrong, because Victoria then realised she did not have that level of control that she thought she did. And I'm not saying she's a bad person, because I don't think she is. She's a mother. There's nothing about the Beckhams that like I dislike, But I'm not saying, as I said, I don't follow brands. It's like with Rihanna and her partner, and she's a brand. She's been branding the fact that she's pregnant every month, not every month, pregnant most years. She's branded her outfits. She's branded the fact that they're always together. When they're together. I don't think there's anything wrong. You know what? You're only in this life for a short period of time. If you're a celebrity and you can make money, whether it's off makeup, whether it's off advertising, whether it's off Instagram or whatever it is, make that money. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's your birthday tomorrow, Small Alec. Happy birthday for tomorrow. So anyway, when at the wedding, so we all know this is what's came out now, is that at the wedding, so there's conflicting stories, but Mark Anthony, the famous Mark Anthony, I think he was married to J-Lo, wasn't he? Or he's just a famous actor. He's also a DJ. So he was a DJ at Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz's wedding. And apparently, and we're only guessing here from what we've heard, there was for the first dance, but this is where the confliction is. Some people say it was the second or third dance. The DJ said, now let's welcome the prettiest woman in the room up to the stage. Now, let's just be honest. If it's your wedding day, you would expect the bride to be the one that comes up onto the stage. But no, Mark Anthony, and I think he was stirring, people are saying he was either stirring things on purpose or he was told to do this, but he invited Victoria Beckham up. Now, that's Brooklyn's mum. Now, conflicting stories say that Nicola Peltz ran out of the wedding venue and was in tears. And I can understand that. I don't know about running out of the venue, but I can understand someone would be upset if it's your wedding day and the DJ's called up the mother instead of you as the bride. So there was that. And then the second thing then is there's some rumours about Victoria Beckham grinding or dancing inappropriately on Brooklyn Beckham. Now, I don't know if that's come from, well, he put it in his post, but apparently, who knows, there's all sorts of memes going around then about like different dances that she was doing. And it is quite funny, but at the same time, it's their real life. Now, the issue then is that Brooklyn kept quiet about this because we didn't even know until recently that that was what the issue was between Victoria and Nicola, his wife. Then he came out. So you're very nervous because you're right. I'll answer that, Smile Alec, in a minute. So he came out with an Instagram post. So this is where I think I'm kind of torn. So all I'm saying is really I'm on the fence between the two of. I can see it from different perspectives. So Brooklyn Beckham, I suppose, if he is been part of this family, literally, you might as well say they're like the royal family to some people. They're the Beckhams. They're everywhere. They've got this brand. They're known as, all of them are fairly good looking. They've made their brand. They've built it. So Brooklyn Beckham has to make a decision at this point. He can either hear all these news stories about him and his wife and about what they're doing and about the feud and just stay quiet, or he can speak out. So he decided to speak out, but I don't know if he was advised on what to say or whether he just went freestyle. But he put in his post that he stayed quiet for too long. He said that his mum and that he's part of a family that has always been controlling. All they care about is their social media presence. He said he grew up in this family where he couldn't be himself, and he said now he's speaking out. So it got mixed responses. Some people were like, yeah, it's good to hear him speak out. Other people are calling him a spoilt brat. Other people are siding with Victoria. In fact, one of her old songs from 2001 or 2002, I'm Not Such an Innocent Girl, got to #1 in some charts. I think it was online because people were backing her. I think what's difficult is because we don't know them personally, and because so many people are fans of like the Beckhams, and I'm talking about the parents more than the children, more people are like willing to. This is attribution bias again. It comes into this. If you have an image of someone, so remember a good example of this is Gaza, Paul Gascoigne. Do you remember when he was accused of beating up his wife, Cheryl? She was on the front of the page of the newspapers with bruised black eyes, everything. There was all the evidence was there. Everyone was saying this had happened. There was evidence to say it had, but there were so many people that still could not believe that Paul Gascoigne would do that, or they still didn't want to view him in a negative light. And I just think for Brooklyn Beckham, being born into a family where most people love that family, where they've presented an image of themselves. It must have been really hard for him to have to come out and say something negative, because he also knows that like his family are going to read it. He knows that this is it now, but he has said he's chosen his family. He has said he wants to marry this person. I think personally that he just wants to break away. And I think one of the things he put in his message is that his parents have turned his siblings against me. That really hurt. I felt that because I thought, when that happens, when you have sibling alienation, if it's true, it might not be true, because when the other siblings are putting posts and they've been putting his name in it, but it just probably feels uncomfortable for him. Harper's his little sister, Romeo's his brother, Cruz is his brother, to not have like that relationship with your siblings, even if I'm not saying the Beckhams have caused that, like Victoria, David have caused it, but that's how he feels. So I'm veering more towards having sympathy for him, but at the same time, I don't dislike the Beckhams. I think Victoria is playing more of a role in not to repair it than David. I think deep down, he comes across as a family man. He's always, when you see him he seems genuinely to want, all of his children to be have the best life and to be in their lives. But I think what he said, because he said something along the lines of children make mistakes, children are going to do what they're going to do, or something like that. And I think he was trying not to take a side. I think David, deep down, if Victoria wasn't so like dominant as a person, I think David would probably make more steps to repair his relationship with Brooklyn. But I think if he did that, Victoria wouldn't be happy. She definitely holds a lot of. She doesn't control him because he's who he is. But I think it's like subtle influence. If you don't do this, and I think that's what Brooklyn was trying to get at, really, that his mum is not controlling, but she wants things done her way. And I think it's just sad all round. I mean, I'm going to round up in a minute, but I just think it's sad because it must be isolating from him at times because all of his siblings are in the UK. He's separated from his parents. He's going to try and build the best life he can have with Nicola, with his wife. They're from a comfortable family, so that's not going to be an issue. I think as well, when they're doing the documentary and they were saying, he feels a bit lost because he's tried different careers. He tried to do, I think, acting. He tried to do a few things. He hasn't found himself yet, but I think he's a chef now in America. He's just a normal person, really, just because that people are celebrities. He's just a young boy trying to make his way in the world. But I think having all this stuff in the media as well doesn't help, because then you can't escape it. You can't escape the amount of opinions people are going to have. You can't escape everyone judging you. And I just hope that he takes care of himself, because we do know that whether it's Liam Payne, whether it's people, Zayn Malik as well, they're both from One Direction, whether it's other people, people were calling him Muggy Mike, but Mike from Love Island. We know that sometimes the pressure and the strain when you've got loads of the world having opinions on you or calling you names or making you feel bad, we all know the consequences of that. For some people, it's too much. And I think people need to recognise that just because he's come from this wealthy family or this family with a big reputation, he's just an ordinary young boy. So I'm more towards Brooklyn, really, because I just feel like Victoria didn't really, if she didn't like his wife or the person he's chosen to be his wife, she could have faked it a little bit and just been like, well, that's who he's chosen. That's the first thing. Secondly, if Mark Anthony did call her up for that dance and said, you're the prettiest woman in the room, she could have took the mic and said something like, oh, thank you for the compliment, but the bride is beautiful, or called the bride instead. There's that. Then also, I think it's just gone on for too long now. And I think if they really wanted to reconnect with Brooklyn, I think they could have made more of an effort to do so. I know that they've tried in posts on Instagram. It's not about Instagram posts. If one of my family fell out with me and I really wanted to reconnect, I wouldn't be going on Facebook. I wouldn't be coming on here and doing live streams. I'd be getting in my car and driving to their house. I'd be having private conversations. That might still be happening, but I don't know. I just feel for him. And I think it's the whole thing I feel like is really sad, because deep down, you want that fairy tale ending. You want the Beckhams to all just mend and for things to repair. But I don't think it's going to now. I think Brooklyn has kind of drawn the line in the sand. He's saying, I don't want anything to do with you. There's nothing they can really do to change his mind. But I think he's literally cutting himself out of that family. And whatever we think about it, and you can leave your comments and say what you think, I just think we need to just have empathy for both sides in a way. Their parents who have literally their young child has said, I don't want anything to do with you. That must hurt. I think it hurts David more than Victoria. She's kind of still got it is a brand, like he said, like Brooklyn says, but I think she will still find opportunities to bond with Harper, with Cruz, with Romeo. I think she sees her children as she's loving towards them. I'm not saying she's not a loving parent, but I'd say that she is now going to put her energy and time and attention into them, whereas she'll just see Brooklyn as, well, he's over there, he's made his bed. Whereas David, this is just my only, conjecture and thought, I think he will feel that loss, because when you're a dad and you've got 3 young men who are your sons, I don't think you're going to just be okay with one of them not speaking to you. It's different. It's just a different feeling. And so I think it's going to really be hurting him every time he goes to bed at night. So let's hope that, that they can work it out. There's time for them to work it out. I think it's sad. Anything that comes into the media where there's like a scandal. I don't like scandal. I don't like hearing that people are feuding with each other, or people not with the Ramsays. You know what I mean? Gordon Ramsay's daughter getting married, and to the swimmer, I forgot his name, and his mum not being invited to the wedding. Then the Markles, when that wedding was going on, people talk about her not getting on with her dad. It's not nice. I personally prefer to hear the happy stories. That's just me. I don't want scandal, gossip. Who's done this? Who's split up? I prefer to hear the nice stories of like who's getting married, who's got engaged, who's won Grammys, nice things. But that's just me. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's really nice to hear your opinions about what you think, even if you don't care. Like someone said, if you don't care, you can still give that opinion that you don't care. Thanks for joining, everyone. I promise that the next live stream and the next video will be of me doing an activity, because I can't keep saying this is called Marianne Living Life and I'm doing all these activities. They're all planned, but I just need to get round to them. So yeah, that's what it's about. This whole channel is about me doing activities. And there's a food festival coming up in Birmingham, so that's this month. There's also a few things I've got planned, trips planned. And if you want to like have more videos around counselling topics, around more serious topics, you can also check out my other YouTube channel, which is called Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.